Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on the final closing celebration for the first year experience summer series closing celebration. As you might be aware, or if this is new, my name is Adriana. I am a college success coach with the American Indian College Fund. And I also help lead the first year experience program, which is programming and resources for all students who are in their first year of college or university, whether you're going straight to from high school to college, or you're going the non-traditional route of experiencing life a little bit before you go into college and make that final decision to go into college. Anybody who's in their undergraduate journey who just needs a refresher or would like to help mentor any first year college students is also welcome to this program. And this has been something that I was working on, and now I'm so glad to have seen it, run through. I really appreciate all the surveys and feedbacks that you all have filled out and returned back to us. And we'll definitely take all the considerations and recommendations, as we plan for next summer. So thank you all so much. We have a really set schedule for you all here. We have some amazing guest speakers. And we also have a really awesome a group of students who are going to be here as well, helping us kind of close and reflect on a lot of different things that we've been doing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the agenda. So as we've been mentioning before, this is going to be recorded, and I just want to say special shout out to everybody who's been watching us on YouTube. We definitely appreciate you, and we of course want to accommodate those who are not able to make it to the live sessions, and you're here just as much as we're here. So for those of you who are out here, definitely introduce yourself. Let us know where you're watching from. If you're in college or if you're in school right now, or if you work for a school, definitely let us know. Shout yourself out there. All right, so this night is going to kind of break into 6 different groups. So right now we're doing the little welcome address, and then we're going to head on into the reflection, where we're just going to kind of sit back and reflect on all the sessions that we've sat through, and some of the topics that we talked about, and just kind of ask yourself, how am I going to use this information as I go forward into my first year and in undergraduate as we go along. And then we're going to hear from our keynote speech, who is going to be, I'm so excited for everybody to hear. I got a chance to sit in on her session at an ASAI conference in San Diego, but I'll do a formal introduction as we go there. And then I'll be talking about the door prize information again, just to remind you all, to make sure you're filling out those surveys for the respective sessions that you attended. That way you can get entered to win some really awesome door prizes. And then we'll hear from our student panel, who consists of so many different students who are attending college, who graduated from different tribal nations, going to tribal colleges and going to non-tribal colleges as well. And then we'll close, with just some final words and everything, and then we'll be good to go for the rest of the evening. So now I'm going to go ahead and hop into the reflection piece. So, one more thing. So as we go into the student panel, I know we were talking about, we gave you the chance to, ask questions ahead of time, to submit your questions with that little QR code, but we'll also be taking questions as well during the session. So if you have something that you want to ask any of our students as you hear, their experiences, what they're studying, or need any advice from any of them, definitely you'll have the chance to put that in the chat. Let's see, so Cassandra coming from TOCC, awesome, we love TOCC. And Lathan has been with us for I don't know how many sessions. Thank you so much, Lathan. We're definitely glad to have you here again at the closing celebration. All right, so reflection. So we have seen so many different topics, met with so many different guest speakers from all over the place, and I'm really thankful that they were able to help collaborate on this project and to share their professionalism and their experience with you all, whether you attended in person or you watched the Zoom links. But we started off with what is orientation with Julio and Loyola, talking about what to expect, what usually happens, and you also did a little scavenger hunt, which was awesome. And then got a little bit of financial aid information on how to find more money for school with Delphina, who is a team member of ours here at the College Fund. And then I walked through a little bit of time management skills and helpful tips to think about. And then we had a conversation with Brittany, who is also a junior at Fort Lewis College, being a first generation student. We talked with Sherry Yetta, who is a first year advisor at Navajo Technical University, about staying persistent in the face of adversity. So how to keep going when different challenges are coming towards you, and how to stay grounded with your values and really your mission on why you chose to be in college. And then we talked with Allison, who is also another student in the veterinary program at Navajo Tech, on exhausting your resources. So unfortunately, we ran into some troubles with that one, so we weren't able to record it. But I definitely want to invite Allison back to kind of do a little part 2 of her presentation, because I would love to sit through it as well. And then goal setting with Shoshani, who also was a first year advisor at Northwestern Indian College, but is in a new role now. And then we talked about ADA accommodations with Joan, who is the Student Connections Program Director at Northwest Indian College as well. And then we closed off with all about internships with Veronica, who works in the career readiness and employment with the College Fund as well. So a lot of really amazing things. And these all came from feedback from an initial survey that I sent some of you as well, to give us, ideas on what you want to hear from and everything. And I hope we kind of, got a good amount of those ideas addressed here. But of course, we're always open to feedback. I mean, that's what's going to be the main driver for us to plan more programming as we go in the first year program. And it doesn't stop here in the summer series. This was all about getting you ready for that, first week going into college and everything, or the first couple weeks of going into college as a first year student, getting yourself kind of grounded and doing like a prep program before you actually go into college. And as we go into the academic year, that's when we'll start to shift gears and try to do more programming with you all to try to meet each other and other first year program students at other colleges as well. So some questions I want to ask you, and you can sit back with this, you can chew on it, you can put it in the comments if you want to answer. But what topic did you enjoy the most? What really spoke to you? What really resonated with you? What was something you knew you learned, if there was anything there? And what were some key takeaways and learning moments from the series? There's so many different things that we talked about. And I know there was a lot of things that even I learned. I'm about 2-3 years out of college now and a few years away from being a first year student. But there were some things in there where I'm like, wow, that would have been really vital for me to have known in my first year of college. How will you use this information going forward into your undergraduate journey? How is this going to help you, whether it's mental or, in your own student life, or how are you going to juggle, maybe you're going to start using a planner now, and maybe you're going to, start, establishing your goals and your values of what you want to do each semester. And is there anyone, family, friend, relative, cousin, anybody who you can pass this information along to? Again, all of these sessions were recorded and are on our YouTube channel on the College Fund. So they're all in a little playlist called First Year Series. So definitely, if you want to go back and watch any of them, or if you want to pass it along to any, of your friends, family, or maybe you're a school administrator and you want to pass it on to your students, that's definitely something that you can do, and we encourage you to do. So without further ado, this is kind of one of the main highlights of this closing celebration. But I want to introduce our keynote speaker, who will be with us for the next 30 to 40 minutes, and that is Dr. Amanda Sheromaya. So Dr. Amanda Sheromaya is Laguna Pueblo, from the village of Pawate, located on the homelands of Laguna Pueblo, New Mexico. She believes one of her greatest gifts as an educator, mentor, and sister is the ability to build students' confidence, especially Indigenous youth, through storytelling, photography, and videography. Amanda cares deeply about giving back to her Indigenous community and transforming spaces through visual narratives, Indigenous-focused scholarship, and methodologies. You can find Dr. Sheromaya on TikTok, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, definitely follow her on there. That's where I follow her, and that's how I kind of found out about her. But I'm really excited to hear what she's going to be talking about on Indigenous professionalism. And without further ado, Dr. Sheremiah, I will give you the virtual floor.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see. All right. So great. Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much for letting me know. Great. Well, Goatsi, se hopa kautuista e shashkatana hanusta. Guishi sao ba hopa showa wisha tashtane shia shawamatzani. I just introduced myself in my traditional language called Keres, and my community is the village of Guishi or Powati, located in New Mexico. So I am so glad to be here with all of you today to talk about Indigenous professionalism and education and beyond. And so I have a lot of tips here for you. I have 10 tips. And so I hope that you can at least remember one of them, maybe two, to take within your educational spaces and beyond. So throughout the piece, this presentation here, I do want to mention that I have a visual impairment, and so I'm partially blind in both of my eyes. So I actually have a tablet here to also help me see. So just kind of a heads up. So as a visually impaired Indigenous woman, my vision really impacts me both figuratively and also physically of how I see the world. So this is my presentation. So pro tip number one. So I want you to think about how you want to visually share your story and your content. So when you look at my slides here, I'm using these very specific slides for a reason. And what story am I telling is the question I always ask myself when I go into presentations or talk with students, talk with colleagues. And this presentation template here is from my dissertation. So I had a Indigenous digital graphic designer create these graphics for me. And so, because I knew that the graphics I would use in my dissertation would go far beyond the academic piece that I created. So I want to have this sense of just hope and this sense of creativity. This color really brings me joy and happiness. And so when you go and present to your communities or to your classmates, think about how you want to emit or what story you want to tell. And so in our time together, we'll talk about some practical approaches to integrating Indigenous ways of knowing and being into your educational spaces and beyond. So when we talk about Indigenous professionalism, I often ponder about this a lot because how I present myself, how I navigate these spaces can be really interesting, just as a professional, but also just me, Mandy, navigating the world and just experiencing, life. And so it's really fascinating to me. So I share a lot of my journey and my stories on TikTok. I think it's a really interesting platform to engage. But as I go through this here, I looked at professionalism, and this is the scope that I'm using of how to define professionalism from an Indigenous perspective. And I'm using the words from Dr. Henrietta Mann, who is an esteemed leader and elder in our Indigenous community, and who has been advocating for our Native people for many, many, many decades. But she says, "We are the keepers of the earth. Those are divinely mandated instructions to us. We are at an incredible challenge at this point in our journey. We have been blessed by being Indigenous. What a blessing and what a responsibility." So I want to break this down into two different categories here and looking at professionalism from this Indigenous perspective. So first, we'll look at the self internally, just from using this quote. So professionalism from an Indigenous perspective is centering Indigenous ways of knowing and being. It's sacred, innate knowledge and direction, and then also recognition for those who come before you. So that's this internal this internal way of understanding what professionalism is. Now, if you look externally about our journey, Indigenous professionalism is stewardship, being a caretaker and having skills, and also a collective representation, responsibility, and continually navigating. So this, again, all comes from her quote here, and I just broke it down into these two sections of internally and externally, what Indigenous professionalism looks like from an Indigenous perspective. So how does this translate into our everyday experiences? So we're going to look at Indigenous ways of knowing and being. I think the most important thing here is to acknowledge that, when I go into different spaces, I always let people know that I am not speaking on behalf of all Indigenous people. Even if we look here on our guest list here and just different communities that are represented, my community is very different than some of your communities. And so, but there are values though that are similar. But I always like to have a disclaimer when I'm highlighting different things or sharing stories. And so when you're in your professional work, you can think about how you do that. Maybe you're giving a class presentation, about Indigenous sovereignty or something, or Indigenous food sovereignty. So what I like to do in a lot of spaces is that I use a disclaimer like this, like I'm not speaking on behalf of all Indigenous communities, but rather from my own personal experience as an Indigenous woman from the Pueblo of Laguna. So again, that shows like I'm not speaking on behalf of all the 500 and something plus tribes, but this is my perspective. And so if you integrate a disclaimer in some way, I found that that's pretty helpful in different educational professional spaces. So another thing too, I think it's really important to reflect on your own journey. A foundational element is recognizing where you have been, where you are now, and where you are going or want to go. And keep it in mind that you are always continually navigating. And so I ask myself these questions all the time, right? Like even a couple days ago, I was asking myself, like, what do I want to do with my life? Like my career, like what realms do I want to work in? So this is a continual spectrum here. But just some examples for myself here. So in my introduction, I said, Shashka Tsana Hanutsa stuff. So I'm from the Laguna Pueblo, but my clans are Roadrunner and Turkey. And so I'm from the Roadrunner and Turkey people. And this is my village. This is one of the pictures here from home. And so I currently live in Anchorage, Alaska. And so here is the Northern Lights. If you ever had the chance to see the Northern Lights, this is one of the most precious experiences you can have in experiencing Mother Nature. And so it's very, very breathtaking to see the Northern Lights. I saw the Northern Lights for the first time this last year, a couple of times. But my family, here is my mom and my sister on the right side here. And then on the left side is my great great grandma, Kaut Dewey. So that's where I get my native name. So it's really powerful to me because look at this picture on the left. This was taken, we estimate somewhere in like the early 1900s. And look to the right. And so this is where my sister graduated from recently to get her master's degree in clinical psychology. But look at her traditional regalia. Like she's wearing her traditional manta. She has her graduation cap on. But if you look at these two pictures, they're taken, I don't know, 100 years apart. But I think about like how she is representing our community and our family, and how there's really not that much that has changed, and even in terms of what she's wearing, in terms of the resiliency and how that has just been vibrant through all these decades, so that we can express who we are as Indigenous women, as Indigenous people from our tribal community. And then here, remembering those who come before you. So on the left here is pictures of my committee members for my dissertation. I mentioned I went to the University of Arizona in Tucson, got all my degrees there, my PhDs in higher education. I love serving students and learning how to navigate these spaces that weren't necessarily designed for Indigenous people like us. And so I honor and I remember those who came before me, because right, like we're in this time and space now where there's been many people before us, and then now there's gonna be many people after us. And so on the right here is Tiwanima. So he was a Hopi runner and Olympian. And so he was a big part of my dissertation. I talked about Indigenous runners, and I interviewed people who are identify as runners and how they navigate the academy, how they navigate institutions through the context, through the lens of running. So Tiwanima was a big inspiration to me. He went to Carlisle Indian School. And so Dr. Sheila Nicholas, which is the person right next to me on the she has the, oh, you can use my arrow. This is Dr. Sheila Nicholas. Tiwanima was her clan father. So in a couple of weeks, I'm actually going down to Hopi to run the Tiwanima foot race over there in Hopi, which I am looking forward to, but it's going to be a hard run because that's going to be at 7,000 plus feet. And here in Anchorage, it's like 0 degree because we're at sea level. So it's going to be a really hard run, but I'm looking forward to it. When I look at collective representation, I really am passionate about sharing our Indigenous narratives through visual narratives like photography or videos. And so that's really important to me. And also integrating sacred innate knowledge and direction is so important to me. And this is a picture that I really, really love because it reminds me of my ancestors. When I think about Mesa Verde or Chaco Canyon, this is Mesa Verde right here, but I'm just so honored and so intrigued by how smart and how intellectual my ancestors are and were. And when I think about the journey, this picture here is from Carlisle Industrial Indian School. And this picture is always so intriguing to me because if you look at the faces of the young people, there's not a whole lot of people smiling, right? These young people are in this military formation. And so as a photographer, that type of photography, you have to have people stay still for several seconds in that type of the camera that was used. So you think about little kids, right? When little kids are outside and they're with their friends, they're like squirming around, looking at ants or butterflies, right? But these young people are under such tight surveillance that shows you the control that the people had over them. I always remember in this time that I honor these young people who didn't necessarily always had the opportunity to share their stories how they wanted to. But I know that now me and you have the opportunity to share your story how you want to. So I think that's a very powerful moment to remember as I look at these Carlisle photographs. And when I think about my ancestry and my ancestors, 1680, this is the year of the Pueblo Revolt. So the Pueblos in New Mexico and in Hopi too, my ancestors, what they did was that they rose up against the Spaniards who were coming up from Mexico, and as a point of resistance to keep intact the traditional ways of knowing and being. And so I think about like how powerful that is and the positionality that my ancestors put myself and others, knowing that, look at this, right? After all those hundreds of years, I believe that revolt set our people in a very unique way in this nation. Because if you look at it now, Secretary Deb Haaland is from my community, Laguna Pueblo, right? Like, I think that's so special and so powerful. But so that's a little bit about my positionality. And as I think about how I speak and how I write, and I think a lot about word usage too. So with word usage, be intentional on how you use words and phrases. So for example, I like to do this all the time with communities. Think about these kind of words. I want you to know that you are brilliant, that you are brave, you are courageous, you are remarkable, you are sacred, you are greatly loved. And the way that we've helped to translate, and I say we because I worked at the University of Arizona in a program called Native SOAR, which is a mentoring program. And so we use those kind words and integrated them into posters and stickers. And so here's some examples here from the different content that I helped to create. So these are the photographs that I've taken over the years. But as you can see here on the left side, you are sacred. That's written in Navajo. You are beautiful. This is written in the Tanotam language, and then you are strong, which is written in the Hopi language. Another thing is the email signatures that you have. So tell a story about your cultural background in your email signature, even though you may be the only one who knows what it means. So example, include your names. That could be your native names, it could be your middle name, your tribal affiliation, land acknowledgement. Those are just some examples. So here's an example here of an email signature that I've used. My name, there's my credentials, my tribe, and then I put all my names there, even though people might not know what they mean. Sipun is the Inupiaq name that I got from elders up in Kotzebue here in Alaska. And I helped carry a big pot of stew one day at their cultural event. And the elders gave me the name Big Guns, which is like strong. And so I really cherish that name. And so I definitely love to put that in my signature. So that kind of gives you an example there. Another thing too is signature elements. So when you choose, what you wear, how you choose to show yourself, present yourself, proudly rock your signature element. So for me, it's my hat. And I use this example to my sister. She uses her eyeliner. We do our makeup very differently, but her eyeliner tells a story. But for me, I like to wear my hat because I got this hat from Thunder Voice Hat Company, and they're not paying me to say this, but so this is their website here on the bottom right. But when I got several years of scholarship money from the Cobell Scholarship. And as I finished school, they invited me back to be a scholarship reviewer. And so I looked at several scholarships, reviewed them, scored them, and I got a gift certificate. And so I used that gift certificate at Thunder Voice and bought my hat. So I use this, I say this is Mrs. Cobell's hat. And so I wear it with honor and pride. So this is my signature piece. When I'm out and about in the community, people always stop and ask me about my hat. So I love to tell the story about Mrs. Cobell because she was a badass. I just admire her so much and what she did for our Native people. Okay, so tip number 7, so be intentional in writing. So these words you use can be very powerful and send very powerful messages. So for example, capitalize E in village, like village of Powati, capitalize C in community, like Pueblo community in New Mexico, capitalize I in indigenous, do a lowercase w for Western. That's a tip from my mom. She does that in her writing. Because that decenters that word, which has been centered for so long. And then capitalize our people. So those are some examples of how to tell a story just with some of these words here. Pro tip number 8, so integrate Indigenous ways of knowing and being into research and scholarship. So my grandmas are very, very special to me, very, very important to me. So here's some pictures of some grandmas in my life. Some have passed, some have gone on, and some are still here. And so when I wrote my dissertation, I thought about what did my grandmas teach me? And so I created a model that basically describes what my grandmas have done and how they've treated me and how they've brought me into just new levels of maturity and understanding. Do I keep going? I'm not sure what happened.
Oh my God, sorry about that. My computer crashed. Yeah, please keep going.
Okay. All right, almost finishing out here. Okay, so with Grandma's Kitchen table effect, if you look on the left side here, when I sit at my grandma's kitchen table, she creates a loving, warm, and welcoming environment. And so just like at grandma's kitchen table. So this is when you're at her kitchen table, like I feel loved, I feel worthy, and I feel important. And then what happens is that stories naturally unfold and trustworthiness and respect are established. And in that process, culture is preserved through storytelling. So this is the framework that I used when I engaged with the participants I was interviewing. I thought about that, like how my grandma's taught me, and I wanted to treat the people I was engaging with in the same way, in the same spirit that my grandma's showed me. So that's how I put it into a model. So this is their model. All I did was articulate it in a kind of like a graph here, or sorry, a picture here. So that's a way to integrate these indigenous ways of knowing. Think about your community. How can you integrate that into your scholarship, into your research? And then another way too, here's an indigenous researcher, indigenous leader. She talked about this concept about the spider web, where basically research is non-linear or linear, messy process. So this may help you for those that are going to graduate school, want to get your PhD, or even if you do research as an undergraduate, thinking about with research, how research can be very messy, but each strand may look like it's messy, but at the end, you're creating something very beautiful and very powerful. So that's one of the frameworks I integrated into my dissertation. Okay, so pro tip number 9, headshots. So amplify your narratives in your headshot. And here are some examples as well. So I have different elements here. The first one, I wear my traditional regalia, and that's very intentional because even though people may not know what that means, I know what it means. And when there's other Native communities who know and recognize what a manta looks like and where that comes from, there's a connection there. And so then I've used here in the middle, also really important, I use that shot. So I just respect so much. The other is
All right, let's see. I think we might have lost her. Technology is not on our side tonight. Oh my goodness. Let me see if we can get her back on. Ah, there she is.
so I think that's my cue to to finish up. But I'm so grateful and honored to be here with all of you. And I hope that you learned something from these pro tips. And I look forward to connecting with you, hopefully on social media.
Awesome. Dr. Jeremiah, thank you so much for that presentation. I loved going through it again, but definitely if you are willing to, if you're comfortable, maybe we can send a little like snapshot of that to the scholars just so that they can see all the pro tips and everything. But yeah, thank you so much for that. I think there's a lot of really good things, especially with being intentional with your language and kind of how like you address yourself and how you present yourself in the professional world and everything, right? Especially with the what you wear and stuff, you know, you're meant to wear like all these suits and be really nice and professional and like kind of like a robot almost. But really, you know, Indigenous people have so many talents and so much beauty about them that, you know, we want you to wear your jewelry. We want you to wear your ribbon skirt. We want you to wear, you know, your nice little hat and everything. And, you know, we want you to wear and somewhere something that's going to really represent who you are. And, you know, doesn't matter what other people think, like that's professionalism in your eyes. That's professionalism in your eyes. So, thank you all for so much for kind of reminding us about that and everything. So yeah, let's go ahead and shift gears again onto the next portion. So now we'll go again, just kind of overview the door prize information again. So most of you have already been seeing this, but I just want to address it again just so that we're clear here. And then I will copy and paste all the session surveys into the chat just so that you might have them. So like I mentioned, we're going off of a tier system for the door prizes this time. So if you attend one and you submit one survey. You have to submit the survey to kind of get your ticket into the door prize. You're entered to win a $50 gift card. If you attend 2 sessions and you are completing 2 surveys, you're entered in to win wireless headphones. And then if you attend 3 sessions and fill out 3 surveys, you're entered to win an Amazon Fire tablet. And for all those go-getters out there, if you attend 4 or more sessions and submit 4 surveys or 4 or more surveys, then you're entered to win a laptop. So this can be an interchange. You can go to 1 week 1 session, 1 week 2, or you can go to all week 3 sessions. You know, it's really interchangeable how you can use it. And a reminder again, all surveys are going to close on September 1st. So that's 1 week. All next week it'll be open and then it'll close on Friday. So definitely you know, watch them, submit the surveys if you want, really. You can send them to your friends, you know, say, hey, we're giving out some cool prizes here. You should watch a few of these and then, you know, you might get a prize or something. So definitely do that. And again, all of our videos can be found on our YouTube channel. And let me see if I can show that really quickly. All right, so my student panel, get ready. We're just about to switch gears into your section. Just let me show this really quickly. All right, so this is our YouTube channel. I copy and paste this link in the chat as well. And thank you, Dr. Sharamaya, for sharing your Google Doc. So if you scroll down, you'll see all of our videos are right here. But if you scroll down even more, or you can go to the playlist, you'll see all of our content is in the 2023 First Year Experience Virtual Summer Series. You can see all of our videos there. And then that's where you'll see this video as well. So I just wanted to show that to you all here. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and shift gears into the student panel. So everybody go ahead and turn on your camera, the student panels. And then we're gonna get ready to introduce you all. So we got Sky Harper, we got Bree Wakau, Nicole Glasses, Kiona Hosteen, and waiting on one more person, Jalen. Hey, Jalen, are you able to get on? Or you're on?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Are you able to turn your camera on? Oh, there you are. Okay. Awesome. So here's our student panel. We have 5 really amazing students here. Some who are in their senior year, some who have graduated, some who are doing some amazing things. We have, I think, 4 of our student ambassadors here for the 2023-2024 school year. But really with the college one, once you're a student ambassador, you're ambassador for life, really. So, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and let's see. Right before we do that, let's see. Give me 1 second. Okay, so they're going to introduce themselves here in a bit. But we have Sky Harper, who is attending Drexel University, Nicole Glasses, who graduated from Diné College, Brianna Wakau, who is at the Institute of American Indian Arts, Kiona Hosteen, who is at Northern Arizona University, and then Jalen Romine, who's at Haskell Indian Nations University. So everybody give a virtual round of applause, and we'll go ahead and get started with our first question. So that is, please introduce yourself, your name, where you're going to college, what year you're in at college, what you're studying, or what you were studying or what you graduated with, and your tribal affiliation. So anybody can go first.
I can go ahead and start. Hello everyone, my name is Sky Harper. I am a 4th year student going into I'm going into my fourth year at Drexel University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I am pursuing a BS in chemistry with a minor in biology and a minor in interdisciplinary problem solving. And I'm also on the pre-med track. And kind of like what I want to do in the future is become a medical physician or get an MD, PhD and do research, specifically on like translational clinical research to minimize healthcare disparities in indigenous populations. But yeah, I'm from the Navajo Nation. I'm from Chinle, Arizona. And yeah.
Okay,
Awesome.
I'll go next.
Sorry,
Hello,
thank you.
everyone. Huh?
Go ahead, Kiana.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So hello, everyone. Yate. Ashin and Shlea Tachini Bashishi Natnej Edashache Do Topan Dashnele. My name is Kion Hasteen. I'm currently a fourth year at Northern Arizona University. I'm studying communication sciences and disorders. And basically, I want to go into the field of speech language pathology. I'm from Standing Rock, New Mexico, and I'm from the Navajo Nation tribe, and it's great to be here with you all.
I'll go next, actually. Yeah, to educator shidene she in the cow glasses in she. Caution initially touching needle, but she's chinky on ani dash che to heglini dash nille. I could echo the nithly. Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Glasses again. I am the Red Bottom People Clan, born for Red running into the Water People Clan. My maternal grandfather was the Towering House People Clan, and my paternal grandfather was the Water Flow Together People Clan. And I am from Red Rock Springs, Arizona. And as Adriana has said before, I did graduate in a college with my Bachelor of Arts program, Business Administration. And for now, I hope to continue on to my master's program at Oklahoma University with my master's in legal studies, but more emphasis in Native American studies. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you.
I can go. So also Mashik Mauniwea, Nui Swin Brianna Walker, Matt Nomanuki, Natawim, Awasa Natotem, Nitski Wakin, Omat Nomane Skonikan, Kashina, Waskosik, Namat Noim. So just start out by introducing myself in my Menominee language. I'm a member of the Menominee Tribe of Wisconsin, and I am Bear Clan. I was actually living in New Mexico for the last couple of years, but I moved home this past spring, which has been really nice. So I'll be attending classes online again, and I'm an Indigenous Liberal Studies major at the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Going into my fourth year. So I'm just really glad to be here and able to share some experience with you guys.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jalen Romine. I'm a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation. I'm in the Wind Clan from my grandmother's side, and I am also part Kiowa from my grandfather's side. And I'm just started my fourth and final year at Haskell Indian Nations University in Lawrence, Kansas. And I'm hoping to get my BA in American Indian Studies in the spring. And I'm studying for the LSAT right now, which I'll take in October. And so hopefully I'll be going to some law school next fall. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for doing that first question. And as we go along, we'll go ahead and just have, people volunteer if you want to answer. And again, I'm going to give you all plenty of enough time to give your answers each, but if you don't have an answer, that's fine. So the next question is, what were some feelings and emotions you experienced while being on your college campus for the first time when you were a first year student? So take yourself back into that time and space when you were going to college for the first time, whether you're coming straight out of high school or just coming back to college. what were some feelings and emotions that you were experiencing, and just share a little bit about that, how you maybe overcame that or what you were excited about.
I can
Um,
take, oh, sorry. You want to go?
Yeah, I can go. So I mentioned I'm from New Mexico, so Northern Arizona University is in Arizona. That's just like a state away. Wasn't too far, about 3 hours, but still I was able to feel that loneliness that people like experience in their first year. It's easy to feel small and you make a lot of mistakes. You don't know where things are at. And also, even getting used to your roommate, depending if you made plans to be with someone who maybe you went to school with, and luckily my roommate was someone I went to high school with, so my experience was a little different in that way. And also just like being independent and doing things on your own, like you have to be responsible for your keys, your card, your books, because nowadays uh you might not get it back. And that's a part of adulting and growing up, and that's basically like what I experienced my first year. And also as a 2020 high school graduate, it even made it worse coming into a bigger school where there's people that know what they're doing because they've been there a few years, and a lot of times you're wearing a mask, so you have that impression like, I don't know if you're smiling, I don't know if you're looking at me, or you're just like straight face. So a lot of times it's like, I'm not even gonna approach you, in that way you're scared to make the first approach or talk to people. And I think it's still like that today, but we're starting to break that off and like go to people, like handshake, and I guess normalize it like it used to be like before COVID.
For me, I'm a non-traditional student. I tried my first semester of high school about 2 years after I graduated high school, and I did okay. I went to a community college in Oklahoma City, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So even though I did okay, I just felt a lot of pressure because I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to waste my time in college when uh, doing something I don't want to do. And so I took an additional like 6 years off, and just the life experience. Uh, I knew I didn't want to do certain jobs for the rest of my life. So I was like, I'll give education another chance. And how Kiana was saying, I also started in 2020. So like right in the middle of COVID. And as a non-traditional student, hadn't been in school for about 6 years, and just trying to adjust to online was really weird. But I was still motivated. I was like, there's not much I can do about the circumstances of the world. So I just tried my hardest online and made really good grades. And then by the time we opened back up in 2021, I had a lot of momentum, like just good grades that I never really had in high school. So it encouraged me to just like kept me motivated and just to try my hardest as I'm back on campus and meeting new friends. But it was kind of weird as a non-traditional coming to college with kids that are coming straight out of high school. So it was really a big learning curve for me. But I found out through the American Indian College Fund that the average TCU students are actually 26. So I was like, oh, so I'm not actually below or above average. And so it was really comforting to hear those types of statistics, because as a non-traditional student, it's just really weird being around a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds.
Okay, I can go. So I am from Arizona, but I went to high school in New Mexico, and I now attend college in Pennsylvania. So definitely kind of pretty far away. But I think kind of the biggest part of going into your first year is just very much mental gymnastics. If you go in feeling intimidated and scared, I feel like that will of course kind of have a little bit of an influence on how you perceive how your first year is going. So I went in very excited and very happy. Even though it was during the pandemic and everything, I was really looking forward to all of the new opportunities that college had. I was also looking to just kind of thrive and delve into my studies. I know it was challenging like to physically get on campus and look around for like oh, where are the resources at? I'm a little lost. I'm in a new area, I need to do some more exploration. But I think after I kind of got my foothold, I was really able to just kind of go forward and use all of like that excitement as motivation. And my school, I think, I remember they released the class statistics and there was like a 0.3% Native American population. So there was probably maybe like 2 or 3 other students who identified as Native American. So that in itself was kind of intimidating just because I had come from an area that there was predominantly, or not predominantly, there was a lot more Native American presence. But then coming to my university, there was pretty much none. So my first year, I actually started a student organization serving Indigenous students on campus, and it was the first organization of its type. So that was kind of my motivation as well. And I was thinking, if I can create this organization, maybe I can foster some type of community and find like other Native American students on campus. But overall, like I said before, I think it's really just kind of how you go in thinking. If you're going to feel intimidated and nervous, of course, that's kind of how it's going to seem. But I was excited and I was ready to really look into opportunity. There were a few moments here and there where it was kind of like a little disappointing or a little daunting. But then again, I was just kind of like, well, that's part of it. So let me just kind of use that as motivation to go forward.
I think I'll go next, but I also wanted to add on as someone that is like a first generation college student that's of course experiencing the college experience. I feel like one of the best advice that an old mentor has told me is that don't let the application process fool you. And that is very true in many ways as far as like FAFSA or any type of enrollment types of stuff that you may have to do. So one thing, of course, to keep in mind, of course, is always like Sky has said before, is kind of like how you approach the situation and how much confidence you have to, you know, accomplish that goal that you have in mind. So of course, don't let the application process of anything fool you, because more likely than not, it'll be all, you know, overwhelming to you at first, but it'll be better in the end, of course.
And I can answer to the question also. My college career started at the beginning of the pandemic. So as another non-traditional student, you know, had tried college like right out of high school and it just didn't work out for me. I took time to work and finally, you know, built myself back up and encouraged myself enough to apply for school. And you know, it was one of the better decisions that I've made in waiting until I was ready to you know, fully dedicate myself to my studies. I was really excited and, you know, really tried to maintain that positive mindset. And being far away from home, it kind of helped, and it was really difficult to not, you know, have a full support system like, you know, your family or friends that you would normally have at a local community school or, you know, something closer to home. But that was also, you know, motivation for me to have a reason to focus on my studies. So, you know, it was a bit of, you know, a lot of adapting, especially to being, you know, in a classroom, you know, maybe 10, no, about 6 years before, and then to be online. You know, everybody is different, and some people, you know, just don't do well online, but I was fortunate that, you know, I caught on pretty quickly and it's been working out for me. I'm really grateful for that, but it allows me to actually be home now, and still be doing my classes full time. So yeah, just really grateful for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree with everything that was said. It's really important for you to really, I guess, kind of figure out how you are, be intentional about how you want everything to go, I guess, because, and it's really hard to do that, especially being in a new environment in a new place, but really just kind of setting out example or expectations of how you would like your semester to go, you know, kind of like speaking it out to existence, whether that's you want to join a new club or you want to pass all of your classes. And that gets into the whole mindset of like, what is success to you? We hear a lot of Western terminology of what success is, having the highest GPA, having the best grades, getting all the scholarships and everything. But really, what it delves down to is what you personally hold as success for yourself. So thank you so much for sharing your experiences. So there's a question here that I wanted to ask. For those of you who are attending tribal colleges, there's a question here for you. So this person says, I'm considering enrolling in a tribal college next year where I don't have any family and haven't been far from my family for long. Do you have any advice for taking that leap? So experiencing like homesickness or culture shock, maybe. Does anybody want to take a dive at that?
I can. I think I don't know who else is a tribal college student. I know Bree is, but for me, I go to school in Lawrence, Kansas, and I'm from Oklahoma, so it's really not too far from my family. But for me, at high school, I have a lot of friends that come from like Alaska, Washington State. But for me, I kind of like being away from home. My family life back in Oklahoma isn't really the most stable. And so for me, I've never really had a problem with being away from home. So I'm sorry if my advice doesn't help you, but I would just say make friends, because the cool thing about tribal college is a little bit different from going to like if I were to go to University of Kansas, I would kind of be in a similar position that Sky is in. Like there's not a lot of native representation at like bigger universities. So I would feel like I would feel more lost at a place like that, because at my community college in Oklahoma City, that's exactly what happened. It's Oklahoma, so there was a couple natives, but it wasn't like strong representation like my hometown in Eufaula. And so at high school, there's a lot. Like there's so much. This is a tribal college. Like we represent over 500 different tribal nations across America. And so even though your family's not here, like we're all indigenous people. And so how I see it is like you come to high school with 0 friends, but then you leave with like a million cousins, because like we all have similar humor, similar backgrounds, like the trauma and just the rough lifestyle back home. I'm not saying everyone goes through that, but just that's the reason why I don't go back home. And I have a lot of friends here that do the same thing. Like we'll stay here in the summer, like split an apartment, just like it's not to escape home, but it's like we found family at our tribal college that can support us in better ways than our family can back home. So just reach out to people. I know it's corny, but be yourself, because like as a native person, we always got to try to hide ourselves, like our loud ad libs and stuff, and our nays and whatnot. But like as a tribal college, you're gonna meet someone that is very similar to you. So just reach out to everyone, get involved, join a club, and just meet a cousin.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree with a lot of what Jalen had mentioned. Even as an online student, I was still living in Santa Fe, which is, over 1,000 miles from Wisconsin. So being apart from my family was, there was a lot of homesickness. But I think, being able to really ground myself in a new environment was one of the things that I tried to focus on. Kind of prioritizing myself is what I was thinking of, on the aspect of self-care. A lot of that got me into, actually going into talk to counselors, with the IHS and behavioral health. That really helped me out a lot. Besides what was offered on the campus side of things, they had counselors and people to talk to, of course, but I took it upon myself to prioritize taking care of my physical and my mental health while being away, because that's something I didn't do when I was home. And just seeing a big change in my lifestyle really also helped me to be like, hey, like if I can do this, I can go back home and show my family, like, this is what I had tried to do to help myself, you know, and making positive lifestyle changes. And you know, also really getting to know who you're going to be around, you know, on campus. Classes, clubs and stuff are fun, but I just really found some of the closest friendships that I've been able to establish as an adult. 'Cause it's not exactly the easiest thing, making friends as an adult, but you know, kind of just respecting that everybody comes from a different background, but there are going to be a lot of similarities where we overlap, and you know, that's what brings us together, and um, can really just have a overall really good experience at tribal colleges, even when you're apart from your family, because like Jalen said, you know, you do find family away from too.
Awesome, thank you. And that even, oh, sorry, go ahead, Sky.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, so I don't go to a tribal college, but I'm pretty far away from home, like over 2,000 miles away. So I think some of the things are transferable. But I think for me, the way to deal with like that longing or that homesickness is the first thing to do is bring things with you, like that remind you of home, and just continue to practice like your own little things at home. Either that may be cultural or maybe just little things your own household does. Keep those things kind of going. Then we live in an age where technology is like so advanced. You're a text message away, a phone call away, you can do FaceTime video. So definitely take advantage of that. Then like what everybody has been saying, you have friend or you can make friends and find that community among your peers. And that's kind of one support group. But I think for me, or one thing that's not really talked about too often is sometimes faculty, staff, advisors, they can feel as close to like I guess family as you want them to be. So for example, for me, I have an advisor that I go to every now and then, about maybe once a week, and I keep in contact, just kind of talking about what I've been up to, how the week's been going, maybe how like a class has been. And before you know it, you kind of start to get that relationship with them, and they start to see you more as like a person rather than a student. And kind of like those types of relationships definitely make you feel a lot more welcome. They open the door for a lot more opportunity, and you're able to even ask for like letters of recommendation when people know you a little bit more intimately. So definitely don't like, if you want to talk to a professor, attend an office hour, just kind of talk to them and get them to know you as a person. You can kind of find that type of relationship. I know like in my chemistry department, there's a professor that we all call like the chemistry mom, and then I have a few advisors that um in other places that I talk to all the time. So definitely kind of keep that in mind as you go forward as well. That can do a lot to kind of make up for that lack of familiarity.
Thank you for sharing, everybody. Yeah, like everybody has said, you know, everybody kind of goes through something, and all it takes is for one person to really bring attention to it. And this can even be in the classroom as well. If there's a subject or a certain, like a word or something that you don't understand, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to, you know, reach out for help, because a lot of the time there's going to be somebody in that classroom or in, you know, your friend group or even your own roommate, you know, who's going to also share similarity and not knowing or wanting to kind of find camaraderie around this subject. So thank you so much for sharing. So now I want to kind of shift gears a little bit into talking about opportunities that you have taken advantage of. So as we know, while you're in college, especially your undergraduate programs, there's a lot of things that are introduced to you that you can take advantage of, whether that's study abroad, an internship, doing research with a professor or somebody, or speaking at a conference, or becoming a residential hall assistant, you know, so many different things that are offered to you. I want to ask you all if you want to highlight maybe like one or two opportunities that you took advantage of and how you found them, and kind of like your step on kind of taking advantage of them, if you had any hesitancies, what those were, how you overcame them, but really just kind of like talk about an opportunity or two that you took advantage of.
I guess I can go. I guess throughout my undergrad, I pretty much tried my best to take advantage of like almost every opportunity that's there, because I feel when you apply for things or try to go for it, the worst you can get told is no. So if you get told no, you move on to the next thing. But for me, I've been very involved within research. I've done research since freshman year and like in a bunch of different labs at different capacities. But I think for me, research, I've really been able to utilize that, generate posters, and even get a publication with my name on it. But along with that, there's a lot of other opportunities, such as if you do research, you can submit an abstract, or you can submit like a proposal to talk at a conference, present a poster at a conference. And through that, you can get funding to travel to the conference. You can get people to pay for your lodging, your airfare. So research really can allow you to take advantage of all these different things. Then I guess like with regards to DEI type of work, you can also do things on campus and I guess serve as that voice for underrepresented minorities, which we kind of all are. So you can really go forward and work with your different offices, different departments to try to bring that Indigenous perspective into the room. And then I guess like one last thing is there's also scholarships and fellowships that I believe should be taken advantage of. Like you already made the first step by applying for like the American Indian College Fund, but beyond that, there's also national competitive fellowships that offer things like internships, that offer money, and like there's just a lot of different things. So there may or may not be like an office at whatever institution you go to that deals with like fellowships or research or like enrichment programs. But definitely kind of get a feel for that. Maybe visit the office, talk to a few people, and just kind of make it known that you're interested and that you're willing to put yourself out there. I think that's kind of one of the biggest things that holds a lot of people back, is that kind of intimidation. But I think once you get over that, the doors really do open and there's a lot of opportunities that present themselves.
Okay, I'll go next. Hi, so Adriana did mention study abroad, so I will kind of talk about my experience doing that. So in my freshman year, I was online, and then I came back home and was still doing online. So basically, I've been doing online my whole 3 years, and I'm going to online my 4th year. Pretty crazy, right? But I've managed to like get used to the groove, and at the same time, even though I'm home, I'm like, I'm still gonna apply for the scholarship. I'm still gonna make use of it. The money's there. And also just being in contact with my professors who keep in touch, like Sky mentioned, he's in touch with his professors just to keep in track mental health. How are you doing? Oh, there's this opportunity. The more connections you make, the more that you make yourself known to people and be like, oh, there's this student, and you just kind of, your name goes around, and next you know, you have this amazing opportunity in front of you. So for my study abroad, I studied abroad in spring 23. I decided to go to South Korea. And through the help of NAU Native American program, I applied for all the scholarships studying abroad, because just like school, how our statistics are very low, there's scholarships out there to go abroad because not a lot of us get to go outside the US. And with the opportunity, I also had I was able to tutor Korean students in the English language. And this was kind of like on my own time between my classes. It wasn't a lot, but you would have to, people would have to set you up an appointment. And that kind of made my day a lot, because I would get people that wanted to see me every week, or like, oh man, I missed it. You're so popular. Just little things like that were very like heartwarming. And I just want to say that if I can go abroad and make use of these scholarships and represent myself and my school, then you guys can do the same in doing that, because with research and being able to talk on this panel, you can go to a lot of places that you don't think that we're welcome to, because a lot of people want to get their insight from Native Americans, because we have a lot of different things to say. They don't know where we come from. We all come from different backgrounds and experiences, and just being able to share this is enough. And coming back from the country, it really changed my perspective on a lot of things. Yeah, I was still a little confused coming to the US, because it was a little scary being able to live about 4 to 5 months in another country, coming back and you feel like what the heck, this is where I've lived for before I went abroad. But it's a lot of like getting used to the world again and knowing that there are a lot of things that we have all experienced and that these experiences we can continue to tell stories and people to encourage, especially in the Native community, and being able to tell this in the panel for the American Indian College Fund is really meaningful to me. Thank you.
Actually go next. I do wanted to talk about, I know Adriana was saying a few things about fellowships, but I first wanted to add on to what Sky was saying as far as applying to different types of opportunities where you see fit, as far as like a poster board that you see in your educational department, or just keeping in contact with your advisor, or even just like word of mouth that other people have heard that you can definitely check out as well. And one of the opportunities that I've got through the College Fund actually was I was actually the 2022-2023 cohort for the Native Indigenous Visionaries Women's Fellowship. And with this fellowship, I was able to kind of emphasize the importance of missing murdered Indigenous women epidemic. And with that, I was able to host a lot of self-care, self-defense, and informative presentations that fall upon the missing murdered Indigenous women epidemic. And with that, I found this opportunity through the past cohort from my college, and she was one that was able to, you know, take a group of people and kind of like show and present actually her whole experience with it. And with that, I decided to just go for it. And of course, like Sky has said before, the worst thing that can happen to you is you being told no. And I would just take every rejection as form of motivation to kind of like go on and search out for new ventures as well. And again, one of the best advice that my mentor has gave me was, you get what you have the courage to ask for. And I feel like that's very true, because if you're like just stuck in like a little bubble, just kind of keeping to yourself, like these opportunities are not just gonna magically fall in your lap. You're gonna have to like go out and kind of search for these types of opportunities and apply for them, and kind of like see who can be able to help you as far as like creating a career and like a background for yourself. So I just want to add on to that as well. Thank you.
I can go. So two opportunities that really changed my life since I've started college was internships. My plan, because like I said, as a non-traditional student, the life experience I had enabled me to figure out kind of the route I wanted to go when I came back to school. So I always knew that I wanted to go to graduate school, and I knew that I would have to make my resume stand out to like get into like, you know, high up institutions or whatever. And so I was like, I need to do an internship every single year of college just to like help me, because that was just my idea. I'm not saying that's something you have to do, but of course COVID kind of hindered that. And I did my first year of college, I didn't get to do an internship. But my second year after we all came back, one of my AIS professors, he was the co-director of this environmental science internship. And it was like a partnership between Haskell and the University of Kansas. And I'm not an environmental scientist by any means. And so I was like, I don't know. He was like, it's an environmentally science-based internship, but it's geared towards more preparing Indigenous students for graduate school. So it's pretty much just how to research, like Sky was saying. And so it taught me how to research and write at like a graduate level. And it really motivated me, because I did really well in that internship. And the top 4 interns got to go to SACNAS and present in Puerto Rico our poster presentations. And that alone, I was like, wow, I can compete with, you know, I'm not an environmental scientist, but I did well in this internship program that isn't even for my major. So it gave me a lot of motivation. It was like, I can contend in these spaces. I can compete with, you know, really educated people. And so after that, in that same internship, we had to like, one of our assignments was to like research next summer's opportunity, like what we wanted to do next summer, like internship, fellowship, what have you, work for our tribe. And so I came across the Udall congressional internship, and they really encouraged me to apply for it. And I was like, okay, I might do that. And then I went to Washington, D.C. with the Student Government Association with Haskell. I joined on a whim because I was like, I might want to go to law school, so I should probably have some type of governmental like work under my belt. And so they invited us to the White House, Haskell Student Government Association, and I met Assistant Secretary Brian Newland, and he encouraged me in our conversation. It was like a really like quick conversation. He was like, hey, I did Udall when I was in my first year out of college. You should apply for it. And if you get it, you can come work for me in DC. And so that first internship allowed me to find another internship. And when I applied for it and met that guy, he was like on the board of directors for the whole thing. And so it helped me stand out. And I got it. And this past summer, I worked in the Department of Interior and the Assistant Secretary for Indian Affairs hallway, and was just shadowing Brian the whole summer. And that opportunity has literally changed my life. And I am going to go to law school. And so just those opportunities, that it's kind of like what Sky and everyone's been saying, like we belong in those spaces. We just have to make space for ourselves. Like we were always complaining we don't have a seat at the table. It's like, well, build your own chair and build your own table and like make your own food type deal. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. I was just standing around like, wow, like there is a space for me in like the federal government, the Department of Interior. That has given me so much encouragement, and it's just kept the fire under me. And that's what happens like every time I come back from a conference or get done with the internship, like at the end of the semester, in the middle of the semester, I'm like really winded and overwhelmed. But after I go in those opportunities and just be in those spaces, I come back with like so much more motivation. Like I have to get back there. Like I got to put in a lot of work so I can get back in those spaces and compete with the big wigs. And so just every opportunity that comes your way, if you're confident in yourself, it's like apply yourself as much as you can and just keep going.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I have to agree with everything again. I mean, there's so many opportunities that are given to you while you know, are in your short time in undergrad. And you know, you'll get a lot of other opportunities as well. You know, if you go to grad school, or maybe you get a nice job and you get like a really good network going, you'll still be presented with a lot of those opportunities. But the peak time that you'll really be getting a lot of these opportunities and finding out about them, and where people really want you to take advantage of them, is going to be while you're in your undergraduate. So you know, those of you who are starting your first year, you still have a long ways to go. Don't be overwhelmed by all of this that we're telling you. You know, you don't have to go solve world hunger yet. But that's definitely what we want you to just kind of think about all these different opportunities that are going to be kind of given to you. And it's going to be totally up to you if you want to take advantage of them. Awesome. So I think we have time for maybe one more question. So I want to shift gears into talking about a little bit about kind of like growing up, or it's okay. So the question's around scholarships, but it's really around like kind of growing up and really learning how to kind of take care of yourself, how to become your own person, how to kind of adult, basically, to put it into lacquer words. But the question is, do you have any advice for applying for scholarships in a less stressful way? I have a hard time focusing and filling out paperwork, and paperwork is very stressful to me. So, you know, as you're getting into college and everything, you're going to be given a lot of responsibility for yourself, really, whether you're a traditional student or you're a non-traditional student. Kind of, you know, taking care of yourself, kind of going after these opportunities, going after these benefits, finding, you know, scholarships, learning the difference between all this financial aid talk, and then finding maybe, you know, like financial assistance, tuition waivers, all that different jargon, basically. So I want to ask you kind of how you found your way, or how you're still finding your way, honestly, in, I guess, kind of caring for yourself or taking on the adult responsible role, I guess. And then maybe sharing about how you find scholarships, or what are some tips when you're filling out these applications to help stop yourself becoming so overwhelmed when answering all these really personal questions and stuff.
I guess I can go. So I guess with regards to like overall, how do you like do adulting, or at least the way I do it, is definitely you are your very own, or you are your best advocate. You know yourself, you know what you want, you know what you like, and you know who you are and what your past is. And I believe that you need to kind of internalize that and really realize that people, advisors, mentors, they can only speak on your behalf so far. It's really up to you to be your own voice and talk to people, ask questions, and just don't be afraid to take up some space in different areas. I feel that's one of the things. You may be a little intimidated, or maybe you're an introvert, but I think kind of once you learn to, in that professional sense, once you learn to really advocate for yourself, everything is pretty much endless and things start to come a little bit easier for you. But I guess more like practical, like specific things for scholarship writing that I found have helped me a lot is whenever you fill out like a scholarship application, always save that Word document and put it in a file and just say like scholarships. Because once you start applying to more and more things, you kind of realize that all of the questions are the same, just a little bit worded a little bit differently. So if you have like all these different saved documents, you can always go copy, paste, and like change a few things and submit that. So that's kind of one of the big things, like recommendations I have. Then with writing as well, I know sometimes I get tired of typing, and Microsoft Word has like this little feature where you can like click the dictate and just kind of like talk to your computer and it writes everything down. So that makes things easier just to kind of get your words down, because I know sometimes, like for me, sometimes my mind is faster than how I type. So at least if you're able to verbalize it and just get things down, you can always go back and kind of like edit it. So I guess those are kind of my things. And I guess you'll probably hear this like over and over again, but time management, really, really, I guess, get familiar with what your limits are and just don't be afraid to say no. If you have a bunch of things already going on, don't, I guess, stress yourself out too much and start stacking more and more things on top of all of that. Really just kind of take a step back and say, I need some time. And maybe like if you still need help with this, or if you still need this, like maybe next week. But let's see how this week goes, or let me get other things done first. So I guess those are like my main recommendations.
All right, thank you, Sky, for sharing. All right, well, we're running to our closing here, so I want to give you all the floor to close out with any final statements or piece of advice or anything you would think is helpful for our first year students, as many of them might be beginning already their first semester or getting ready to, just kind of like some parting words. And yes, feel free to put your contact information in the chat if you are comfortable with that. LinkedIn is always really great. That's probably one of my biggest tips, is to create a LinkedIn profile, because that's going to get you into some doors to get opportunities with different professionals, native or not, in these spaces. So who wants to go first?
I can go. I'll be short and sweet. But I was always a people pleaser growing up. Just kind of like I had to do what my friends were doing, and even when like I'd be like, I don't really want to do this. I kind of want to do something else. I was still like, well, that's what they're doing. I don't want to feel left out. So I would go do that, and then like stuff would go awry, and I'm like, man, I should have just listened to myself and like stayed home instead of going out or whatever it is. Just trust your gut. Just what's best for you, and so just don't. I'm not saying don't ever second guess yourself, because you can't just be an idiot like, oh, I'm capable of like running a marathon, and then you pass out halfway through. But just trust your gut. If you feel uneasy about something, a course, a mentor, like an advisor, don't be afraid to switch. Don't be afraid to just just whatever what's best for you. So just, yeah, trust your gut.
I can go. I think ultimately just remember to put yourself first. You know, you're going to school, um, you know, for maybe bigger purposes and reasons beyond yourself, but in the moment, you know, you're the one that's going to be getting you through the courses, you know, all the work, the good times and the struggles that come with, you know, being a student. And, you know, just to remind yourself not to um get into too much into your own head, I guess, is what I have to remind myself of too, to take time to just breathe and remember, you know, like just to take it easy on yourself. And that things are most often temporary. So whatever feelings that might come up, good or bad, you know, you'll move on through it. And you know, there's always going to be something else around the corner to look forward to. So good luck to everybody going into your first year. It is exciting. You know, I wish you the best.
I can go. So I guess the last thing I want to say is don't be afraid to try something at least once. Like I would say at least give everything at least one shot. Well, not everything, but most things. And then after that, you realize, oh, maybe I want to do this again, or maybe I don't. But then you can say, I've tried it and I know it and I've experienced it. And I think one of the big things is don't be afraid to fail. I can't think of a synonym right now, but I really don't think the word fail is like valid. I feel like anything that doesn't happen the way you want it to, it's a learning experience and you gain something from it and you'll have that for your next whatever it is. So definitely don't be afraid to do something and not, I guess, have the best outcome out of it. At least give it a shot. So I guess that's what I would say.
I guess I'll say the last few words. So as you enter your first year, my advice for you would be to, I know this may seem like very simple, but continue to be yourself. Don't let people take away your spirit, because you will meet people who are going to appreciate who you are and the vibe you bring to things, especially in how you write your scholarship applications, because that's who you are. Take your time and write it in. Don't think you have to finish it all in one day, because if you do that, then you're gonna realize the next day, I should have input this, or like that's not really who I was. So don't rush yourself, because a lot of the times taking your time is the best thing. And if people want to rush you, then you need to let them know. Also, a lot of things is be comfortable with being honest. Tell people, don't just agree with it because they said so or they want that. Tell them that I'm sorry, I just can't get back to you today, or like this is not possible. And that's part of like, even if you have to decline something, making decisions, that's another big thing. You have so many things going on. Like Bree said, your mental health, you become first. So know what you can take upon and don't overload yourself, and just continue. And I wish you all the best in your first year. I can't wait to hear your stories in the future if you continue to be in contact with the American Indian College Fund.
I know I was dropping a little bits of advice throughout the presentation, but I just wanted to reiterate. But for the first one, I remember I said, don't you get what you have the courage to ask for. That was one. And I forgot what I said the first time around, but I just wanted to add on to that and also say that when you start your educational journey, don't feel pressured to get it done within the time frame that you wanted, like 4 years. Everybody has, you know, their own, you know, journey through college. And I feel like most likely than not, you have family members or even friends that are always asking you like, oh, how come like you're like retaking this class, or taking longer than expected to finish, you know, degree, but I would just push through all of that negativity and just kind of like stay focused on what you came to college for. So always remember you are on your own timeline throughout your whole educational journey. But again, I do wish you all well on your undergraduate journey. But as Kiona has said in the past, we do hope to see you again in the future with American Indian College Fund as well.
Thank you, Yesek, for sharing all of your knowledge and just sharing all of your experience. This was a really great experience for myself, and I know for all of the attendees here, and for those of you who will be watching on YouTube. I think this just really solidifies the fact that, we really need to start investing in Native youth, because there's so many ideas and opportunities that are out there that we need to make available to the Native youth. And once we start doing that and investing time and money or whatever into Native youth, we're really going to start seeing the cycle of giving back to our communities and everything that we always see. So thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, the panel. Again, if you feel comfortable with sharing your contact information, feel free to do so. That can be an email, LinkedIn, whatever you'd like. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this closing celebration. Thank you all so much for joining us within this whole month of August. I know there was a lot of content thrown at you, lots of technical difficulties, especially this being the first summer we're doing this. But I want to thank you all so much for joining us on the ride. And, it doesn't end here. Like I said, we're going to continue the first year experience programming into the academic semester. We're just going to be focusing a little bit more on like opportunity and networking with the first year students and stuff, but you're all welcome to join us and everything. And I know we'll definitely look at the ambassadors as well to do collaborations and do a little bit more of this kind of like storytelling factor with our scholars. But thank you all so much for joining. I hope you all are staying healthy out there. COVID is unfortunately on the rise again, so please stay safe. Please take care of your relations, and please stay warm as we go into the fall and the winter months. Take care of your relatives. And I did post the week 4 survey link in the chat. Let me go ahead and do that again one more time. So this is the very last event for the summer series. Definitely fill that survey out. And again, the surveys will close on September 1st if you want to get any last entries in for the door prizes. And then we'll start to notify you if you do win a door prize. So thank you all so much. Again, take care of yourselves, Adam Holia, and we will see you all at the next first year programming. Bye.